it's a bit of a disappointing outcome, but what actually do those locked doors tell you about who's got the right arguments, that who's on the right side of history? I would say that the people outside that building are on the right side of history. The people inside that building need to start listening, because I think this charity is dying. It is not attracting young people, it is not attracting trustees. Jane has covered a lot of ground, so I'm just going to say a few words about my involvement with the RSPCA, why I'm here today. But the first thing I would like to say is thank you to everybody who has come. Give yourselves a big clap, because it takes commitment, it takes dedication, and it takes love to come down here on a Monday morning, and great to see so many people here. Now, as Norb has just said, I was a branch trustee. That sounds almost like I was an alcoholic. It sort of sounds, and at times actually it felt like it. Because I found that I had to defend a lot of the time my involvement with the RSPCA, especially amongst fellow people who had adopted a plant-based diet, amongst other charities, amongst other animal welfare groups. No, the RSPCA has got very corporate, as you can see. Look at the size of this building, look at the flagpoles. Over there is a great big sign which I think cost £10,000. £10,000 on a RSPCA logo rather than on animal welfare. Somewhere in the 200 years, as Jane has said, this entity has gone badly wrong. I think we are bringing a common sense, passionate argument to them, and they should be listening, not locking the doors. Now, I think it's important to emphasise this is not a criticism of the individual staff members, of the volunteers, of the branch trustees, of the branches. At the end of the day, the RSPCA does a lot of good work on the ground. The problem is at the corporate level, it's at the CEO level, it's the policies that are decided in that building. So I did have to spend a lot of time explaining why I was involved with the RSPCA, but in the end that position just became untenable. I could not make the connection between what was happening on the ground and what was decided at a central level. And I think that is a problem for them, because they're not attracting young people. This is probably the first time any young people have actually come to the RSPCA headquarters. They're running out of volunteers, they're running out of branch trustees, branches are closing. It is a charity that has been around for a very long while, but I can't see where its future is at the moment unless it changes markedly. Now, just to put a bit of context into this, I was here with Jane and Harley, who quite a lot of you will know, 3 months ago. We actually got in through the doors. We got a meeting arranged with the RSPCA and we spoke for about a couple of hours. It was very constructive, it was very friendly. We put our messages across loud and clear as to why we had a problem with what they were doing, why they needed to come out and support a fair transition to a plant-based future. And then we waited, and we waited. And in the end, we got a reply that wasn't worth the paper it was written on. To say that they would like to get more animals into their woeful RSPCA assured scheme is not an aspiration when we have a climate crisis, when we have a biodiversity crisis. To cite the eating better, whatever it is, scheme as a response to what we were demanding was just so poor. Now, I'm sure that the corporate team composed that reply to us and thought, that's them back in the box, that's them keeping quiet. But we won't keep quiet, we will keep coming back. We'd probably better let them know this is not a one-off visit. Now, it's been a busy few days. We had the National Animal Rights March up in London, and I know a lot of people were there. Lots of compassionate people coming together, lots of compassionate, dedicated groups marching through London. What would have been the situation if the RSPCA had been there? Why can't they march shoulder to shoulder with people who support animal rights? If they had been there, it would have led to a lot of interesting conversations. And I think as a damning indictment of what has gone wrong, that, as much as anything else, reflects the disconnect between what they say and what they actually do. Now, not only do they not have anything sensible to say about the need to transition to a plant-based future, but worse than that, they also provide a fig leaf for animal farming. Now, we mustn't get distracted. We don't want a better RSPCA assured scheme. That's not why we're here. The RSPCA assured scheme, if you look at the detail, is dreadful. The conditions that animals are allowed to be in and still get that stamp of approval, paid for stamp of approval from the RSPCA, is absolutely shocking. However, in a plant-based system, that whole scheme should be redundant, and that is the message that we are bringing. Nothing humane happens in a slaughterhouse. Nothing humane happens in the industrial fishing industry. There is nothing humane about the exploitation of animals for food. We know that. They've lost contact with that basic fact. So we know that the science is absolutely clear. Animal agriculture is a major contributor to the climate crisis and the biodiversity crisis. And in turn, those crises are being seen today. We've seen it in the UK in the last couple of weeks. Animals and humans in their millions are already suffering because of the climate crisis. Through wildfires, through droughts, floods, heat waves. How many of those thousands of chickens that died in those great big overheating barns were actually in RSPCA assured farms? I would bet there are a heck of a lot of them. Now, the RSPCA has this massive disconnect, and that's the really simple message we're bringing today. It's not complicated. Join the dots up, make the connection, and become a charity for the next 200 years rather than dying on your feet and losing contact with actually what's happening in the real world. All right. Yeah. So the final thing I would say is that if we can get to connect at any point during the day with the staff, maybe they'll come out for a fag, maybe they'll come out for lunch. Let's see if we can have a conversation with them. Let's tell them, take our message back to their offices, back to their meetings, back to the CEO, back to their senior management. Become bold again, become relevant once more, come out publicly in support of a fair, plant-based system. The last 3 words of the RSPCA name said it all. Prevention of cruelty to animals. At the moment, they are missing the trick, they are missing the dots, they are failing in their remit.